Hey guys, this is DFD, aka Dark Frozen Depths, and now's the time where shit's about to hit the fan with these events. Because, yeah, you see what's on screen. We're getting our first tower from Malice. If you are not able to clear Guild Order, you are probably not able to clear this either, because enemies can get about that tough. What I mean is that this is pretty much a gauntlet of a lot of different enemies and floors to go through, and there's quite a few restrictions, so I gotta go over this. As of the time I'm making this video, this event just came out about, 13 minutes ago? So, don't be so quick to jump into it. You need a decent amount of planning, but at the same time, you still need to do it every single day if you want a chance. So, here's how things are going to go down. You go through 15 floors, and it get harder and harder as you progress. Now, the whole thing is that it starts off simple. You get beginner level enemies that might have like 10,000, 20,000 HP. Then you start getting harder and harder and harder until there's enemies that suddenly have millions of HP. Yeah. But you want to know what the bigger catch is? The fact that when you use a Kamihime, you can't use them again for 3 days. So this is where the planning really kicks in, because all of a sudden it's like, oh hey, do you want to throw Kamihime that you're not going to really use too much, or you want to use somebody that you know you can beat it with in the hopes that they'll be ready later down the line? And an even bigger catch that's not even listed on here is the fact that you get a set amount of keys each day, which is 2, and this is an 8-day thing. So, yeah, that's where the doing it every day thing comes in. Because I don't know if the keys stick with you or if you have to use them that same day. So be very careful about that. Now, the biggest thing about this, too, is the fact that the faster you clear each floor, the more tower medals you can get. If you can clear every floor in 4 turns or less, then you're getting 750 tower medals just off of that. You also get more tower medals by clearing missions, and every single floor has these 2 missions. You have to clear it a certain number of times, which is once unless it's the 15th floor, in which case you might see it twice. And clearing with the elemental advantage. This is where the whole thing of trying to build one strong team and then getting the others to catch up comes into play. Because this is a fire tower, my water team would be the one to clear that elemental advantage mission. But hey, guess what? My water team sucks, so I'm not doing it for every floor. And then to really add icing onto the cake is the fact that it seems as if there's guild-related, well, not guild, union-related, rankings as well. And I think you get ranked with other players. So, there's a lot here. And you have to be extremely, extremely careful too, because if you fail, no elixir can be used, just like Guild Order. That's it for that run. Now, this is what's kind of recommended right here for setups. And as you can see, it can kind of bump up to other stuff too. Like, you can use useless characters or whatever to really blow through floors 1 through 7. Then you're starting to need specific Kamihime to really help you out. Some of them are related too. And then you start seeing the SSR needed later down the line. This doesn't go into full details like that, but yeah. But you really, really have to be careful. An interesting strategy is to actually break out Solomon and use only her, so you're not wasting any Kamihime. So if you did get a few soul weapons for Solomon, then yeah, that can really help you save your Kamihime for some of the lower floors anyway. There's going to be a point where you can't do it with just one. And it's very, very recommended not to use sub-slots until you get to like maybe the 15th floor. And even then, you have to make sure you don't burn out through your Kamihime so you can actually do it again. Because like I said, sometimes the 15th floor might have clear twice. And I've seen that on other towers. It might even be earlier through the line where you have to clear the same floor twice. I don't know. But fact of the matter is, very, very decent, thorough planning. You rush through this, you're going to make yourself have a harder time. If you try to hold back too much, because keep in mind, you have to try and clear these floors, that also holds you down a little bit. Now, me personally, with my white team, I probably can take out quite a few of these floors, but I don't want to just go busting them out at a certain point. So I'm going to have to go through a certain Kamihime and whatnot. Like I said, you can use off element, but it's going to ruin a little bit of tower medals you could be getting. But yeah, this for instance is like a picture from the DMM side. As you can see, they're using just 3 Kamihime just to go through things. Well, not even 3, 2 Kamihime and Solomon. But here's the thing too, if you use a soul, it shouldn't block you out from using another soul. As far as I'm concerned, as far as I know, it only really limits Kamihime themselves. Everything else is reusable. But the Kamihime is like the bread and butter of your team because of what skills they may or may not have. So hey, if you use up all your healers, suddenly, well, you can't heal the next 4 for 3 days. But anyways, I'm going to the DMM wiki, the Japanese wiki. This one has a lot more data, and it really breaks things down too. Even by floor. And actually, beginner HP might be a little bit lower. I don't know. But yeah, this breaks it down by floor. I'm going to post this in the description too to really help people out with that, because you're going to need to know all this stuff. It gets pretty dangerous later down the line. But yeah, clear quest 1's clear with 3 more members, clear with water characters, there you go. The first few floors is pretty easy to really go through. I'm not really going to go over them too much, because if you're clearing ultimate level content, then you should be fine. And that's the other thing too, try to get as far as you can, even if you know you're not going to win. Because this is the same case as Guild Order, where you can still get prizes depending on how far you get. But yeah, it's looking like the same stuff. It's like clear with 3 or more until a certain point. Yeah, you really don't have to worry about the missions really changing up on you too much until like maybe 8th floor. 7th floor, you're going to need 5 people though. Before then, you're going to be using 3. But you more or less got to take out all these different types. Honestly, my Water R team might be strong enough to really handle all the way up to 8th floor or so. But then on top of that too is where you start seeing some higher resistances as well. So don't be too debuff reliant as well in some points, or you may see your team getting wiped out. But yeah, it seems like 8th floor is a good point to really start covering things, so... Well, no, maybe 7th, because you're starting to see 7-digit enemies. So, that's where I'll start going over things. 7th floor, 5 or more people. You have to have that. So, that said, your front line has to be full. Your sub slots can be empty, just to try and save some spots in case you need people. And this boss is going to hit you with fire resistance down, meaning it's going to try and hit you with more damage. So you got to be careful with that and be able to clear it. Water is very good for cleansing. So there's a decent amount of Kamihime that can actually remove debuffs. Be very aware of that. Water is a good healing based one, whether it be removing status effects, which is ailments, or even flat out healing HP. And if you don't have the specific recommended Kamihime that was on the first one, then just use whoever you can to replace it, and hope that you get a chance to use them again later down the line. But anyways, and with the way this is set up, you're only going to use each Kamihime like roughly twice. But anyways, moving on. 8th floor, this is where you need to have 2 or more of a certain type in order to try and keep doing these missions. That's where you got to start really paying attention. There's a couple of healers and whatnot. And then on top of that, the the boss of the A floor, they can start doing quite a bit of damage, but the resistances is starting to go up. So that's where you gotta be careful. Meaning you're not gonna debuff them as often. 9-4 is the same thing, 5 or more. Only this one's going to start doing quite a bit of damage based on how much HP they've lost for certain triggers. And it'll also reduce your defenses, so be very careful. In fact, that's a drama loss. They're using accessory quest ones. Wow. They're pulling them from anywhere. But 10th floor is where you start needing 2 defense types. And then you start getting debuffed a little bit more with the attack down as well. And then on top of that, one of these enemies can also start boosting their own attack power when they get hit. Some normal enemies start getting triggers, so you also got to pay attention to that. Because like whenever they get hit with a normal attack or something like that, then hey, suddenly somebody's hitting you with defense down or boosting their attack. So you got to be very, very careful with that. And remember, these are trigger effects as in special behavior, not even in the charges, so you got to be careful. It's quite a few that have these triggers as well, so you got to be very careful with that. But in fact, I think that's the first Dysnomia you're fighting. Yeah, 410. That's the first time you fight Dysnomia. And that's not too bad on the HP. You probably still get past that pretty easily if you're clearing accessory quests or even guild order. If you're clearing guild orders, you got a good shot at this. But 11th floor is where things start getting really hard because you start seeing all enemies getting resistance to an extent. You gotta clear 5 or more again, and then some of these are getting really, really tricky. Because when stuff is triggered, it's starting to deal damage and debuffs, or even healing people. So, like, I'm roughly going over this because I can't go in full detail, or this video will be like 8 times longer. But yeah. And then this is where things start looking a little bit like guild order, because now these enemies are starting to have like millions of HP on 412, with the boss having 5 million. And then 13-4 is going to have like 10 million for a boss. And then you're starting getting multiple boss fights in a way. But yeah, 415, clear the quest twice. And then on top of that, you got to do a last battle within 15 turns. Meaning Dysnomia has to be killed in 15 turns. That 8 million's got to be whittled down in 15 turns. But that's if you want the most tower medals. If you don't really care too much about tower medals and just want to try and run through the stages, then by all means use whoever. But you have to be extremely careful. In fact, they even throw a curveball in there with the 14-4. There's a dark enemy. So you're not going to be enjoying that one because you're not going to be resistant towards its damage. And Dysnomia is going to be... ugh. I know Dysnomia is going to be a problem. Especially later down the line when you face her again on the 15-4. And you got to do it twice, so yeah. And then the medals you get to is also dependent on how far you get through the floors and whatnot. You can get quite a few of them. So you gotta keep that in mind. And they give you some very interesting capture information to really break through all of these. Like floor by floor by floor. Like 4-4 is where you might have to watch because you might get insta-killed by one of these attacks. Let's see what that one does. Now that I'm really looking at this Orthrus. Yeah, it can hit you pretty hard. Because when this HP gets cut in half, that's where it's going to be a little So make sure you can kill Orthros pretty quickly. But like I said, don't go too overkill. You might want to use like an SR that can deal a lot of damage. The better your grid, the better. But they're recommending even Kamihime on certain parts like Genghis and SSR, Nikkei, Kikurihime. Some of these are SR level Kamihime as well. Sequana and Genghis is R level Kamihime. Keep that in mind. Use every Kamihime you can get if you can hit the recommended amounts. Like, see, the recommended Cthulhu and Belphegor, Aphrodite, Poseidon, Nikkei. And considering the debuff tolerance to jumping really high, you may or may not be able to land them. So keep that in mind. There's a lot, and I mean a lot, of recommended Hime they have right here. So be sure to go on this link and click where each one leads. You may or may not have them. They break them down between balance, tricky, and defense as well. So keep that in mind. And something to also remember is that a Tohime and crap, there's another a Tohime and somebody else was those two combined act like Gaia, so that's a little interesting water trick. They're both R girls. I can't Kushinada, that's it. A Tohime and Kushinada, those two, if you have them on the same team, you pretty much got an effect like Gaia's where you can attract attention and nullify damage. That's something to remember. You may have to use that once or twice. I don't know. So, time when you use those two together. That's something to keep in mind. But you are recommended to have some stuff that you can do. Like Maiden's Prayer is good for removing debuffs. And then there's debuff tolerance enemies too, where you may or may not start sticking stuff too, where Black Propaganda and Sniper Shot might not help you as much. It's just, you have to be very, very careful of this. Extremely careful. So, you, again, absolutely do not try to use a 6-man party until maybe the 15th floor, if that. If you know you can clear it with just the frontline characters, use 4 Kamihime. But anyways, there's one more thing this all opens up to. And that's the interesting part. Alright, I think this is it right here, yeah. Now when you start getting these medals, because you can get guild medals and tower medals. Guild medals, which you get from Tower of Malice, is what you get from higher ranking guilds and whatnot. And they're pretty much union medals on our version if they rename it. But anyways, those are what you get to use this thing right here. They give you a lot of books, which is like 2 of each. And then on top of that, they give you an item which lets you break them in any SSR. As for tower medals, you can get one of these items. It's the same as before, only this is the break limit any SSR weapon. These are the main things you want to aim for. Now, say you're not really looking at those, there's a decent amount of other stuff too that might come across where you can get like a whole bunch of different like it's saying it gives you an SSR of every type for each of these elements along with 10 rosaries to really upgrade them. That's actually pretty good. I wouldn't really go 4 because you can hunt down the accessory quests and get lucky. Free players might actually want to go for the gacha tickets because you're getting quite a few of them. It depends. Now the small set, you're only going to get like pretty much like half the accessories and all that. Don't worry about enhancement materials. Don't worry about the magic jewels unless you really just don't care about the break limit stuff and you're a free player. Don't worry about the gems or any of these upgrades because you really can get them anywhere else. Yeah, the only real things I really aim for is the magic jewels. Maybe the accessories, but I'd go for the higher tier ones. The tickets. You honestly get more books down here, but if you're going to do it, get these up top. But yeah, that's pretty much all of the list right there. But believe me, there's a lot of stuff you can get from doing this event, and it really, really helps out. But anyways, that's all for this video, guys. The very next one you're going to see is probably going to be Tower of Malice, because I'm going to try and record each of my runs through each stage. Just for the first one. I don't know if I'll do it for the next one, because I'm not exactly going in blind, but I really don't know how I'm going to set up my teams, because it's going to be different depending on what you got. Me personally, I'm in a good position because I have 170-something Kamihime to run through. I don't know how much is underwater, but it helps. But yeah, remember these little items you can get right here for trading Dragonic Eyes? Hey, guess what? Now you can get them for free. That's something very nice to know. And then eventually they're going to add this little special miracle ticket too. I don't know when, but you're going to need a crap ton of Dragonic Eyes for it. 150 in fact. But that ticket has no limits on the Kamihime and the add-ons in the game. You can get any single one, including the limited Kamihime. Any single one. So, yeah. If you're not awakening, you're definitely going to need to save your Dragonic Eyes, because that's the only thing you're really going to aim for at that point when it comes in. But anyways, like I said, that's all for this video. Link to this wiki is going to be in the description, at least directly towards that tower, because there's going to be multiple ones, and I'm going to have to try and find each and every one of them. But, anyways, that's all for this. Like I said, next video is definitely going to be me attempting the weaker floors of the tower, because it's probably going to be pathetically easy. And I'll try to get at least me attempting every single floor. Period, point blank. So you're going to see a lot of Kamihime videos coming out eventually. But anyways, that's all for now, guys. Take care.